Here's a weekly update of rental income versus high income ETFs. As a reminder, we've sold most of our rental properties and we've taken some of that money, invested into ETFs. And for one particular property, this one right here, we sold it and we created an account, Robinhood. We put the money into a couple different covered call ETFs because I think long term they will perform better, less management, less headaches than how things would have went if we would have left our money into this rental property and kept it. So let's get going here. And if you're watching these and aren't subscribed, I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe. That'd make my day. What would really make my day if the stock market would go up, but you can help out till then by subscribing. This week's going to be a little bit different because at the close of next week, I'm going to be gone and won't be able to make a video with the exact numbers. But I wanted to put a video out and I'm going to estimate what's going to happen. So I pretty much know what the distributions are going to be, but I don't know exactly what the price of the shares is going to be. But I'm going to take a wild guess and we'll see how close I am. But as of right now, this is what's going on. I have 100 shares of SPY, 200 of giax, 600 of aipi, and 2,700 of qdte. And as of right now, this is the values of each. This website called totalreturns.com, it will give you the total return of the price appreciation of stocks plus the distributions or dividends or both, or all three. What I'm doing is comparing what I have with SPY. So SPY is the S&P 500 index fund that most people compare things to. And you can see since I start this project November 1st, 2024 until the end of March, or almost the end of March here, as of today, the S&P 500, or the SPY, is down almost 5%. And if you look at AIPI, the total return, and once again, this includes the distributions and any dividends, is down 7.61%. GIAX is down 5.22, QDTE down 4.78, and SPY down 3.15. So in the last few weeks, I've been talking about SPY, and I've been adding SPY to this account. I have SPY in another account that I've had for quite a while. And just in the past month or two, when we had this downturn in the S&P, I wasn't really sure how SPY was going to perform. But you can see that even though it's down 3%, it's still better than what the SPY has done, which is down almost 5%. That is why, one of the reasons why I've been adding SPY to this account and building up a position in this to try to add some stability to the net asset value, the NAV, while still getting 12 to 13, 14% per year in distributions or whatever. So AIPI is down. I expect when the AI stocks hopefully bounce back, that this will jump up and make up some ground. GIAX, I actually thought had performed worse than what it really has. It's not that far off from what the SPY has done. QDTE, actually, the total return is actually performing better than the S&P 500. And then, of course, we already talked about SPY. So that's a summary of how things have been going with ETFs that I'm holding in this account. In just a review, down here, the SPY, I've added 20, then 80 shares to the account. The ones I bought for 20, I paid $50 for. Then the prices dropped down to 48. And that's when I picked up another 80 shares. So I don't want to go too crazy using margin. So my brain is telling me to hold off buy anything else right now for a while, but sometimes I can't help myself. If I think the price is is a good spot to buy, sometimes I go ahead and just buy some more. And so this is gonna be an estimate of what I think is gonna be paid out. So usually AIPI is pretty consistent. It pays out about $1.50 per share. So taking that into account, I'm expecting it to be perhaps around $785. SPY usually pays out about, like I said, 12% per year. So basically, it's paying out 1% per month of what the value is. So I have about $5,000 in SPY, 100 shares. So I'm expecting about $50 for that. GIAX usually pays out about 2% per month. And so I'm estimating about $70. QDTE can vary from anywhere from $400 to $800. Up here, it paid out 408. And then you see last week it paid out 750 almost. So it usually averages in the 600 somewhere. And there are some people who do estimates about a week or two ahead of time of what QDTE is going to pay out because what it will pay out next Friday has already been determined. So it's pays out a couple weeks after the fact of what has happened. So there's a couple YouTubers that do a very good job at estimating what it's going to pay out. So based on that recent estimate of one of the YouTubers, I'm expecting about $680 next week be paid out. They're usually within maybe like 3% of the total. So what I mean 3%, I don't think it'd be anything over 700 or anything less than about 660. So I'm guessing about 680. So if all that holds true, the month of March, I will end up around $3,087, which is pretty similar to last month, with the biggest difference being that first distribution from QDTE being only $408, where February it was 624. So that's about where the difference is at. Otherwise, it's pretty similar to about the same price. Okay, let's take a look and see how things were expected to go and how they're really going. This screenshot here is my spreadsheet of how I projected things to go compared to how it's actually going. So down here, I would have expected to have 82,390 in my account equity. That means that's how much money I would expect if I sold out everything, just give up and quit. I would have 82,000 and I started with 70,000. I would have 61,000 in margin with a total 144,000 invested total. I would have been up 17.7% from the beginning. I would have been using 75% of the equity in margin. So 61,000 whatever is 75% of 82,000 whatever. So the way it's really going is, and these are estimates now, I should be around 69,000 at the end of the week. I will have about 63,400 in margin because I will have earned about $1,600 in distributions this week. It would knock that 65,000 down about $1,600. Just a guess. I have approximately 132,400 invested total. I'm expecting my equity gain to be about 4% this week. My total gain is still in the minus 1.43%. I start with 70,000. I think I'll end up with about 69,000 this week. So getting back to breaking even about, you can see at one point here I was at 79,000. And then the word tariff came along and everything went south. But we're climbing back up. I'm using about 92% margin to my equity. So I got 63,400 in margin and 69,000 equity. So that's about 92%. But if you look over here where I was projected with a margin, I'd be about 62,000 right now. So I'm not that far off on the margin. And I'd be sitting pretty good if the equity here was actually 82,000 like I had hoped and projected. we're slowly creeping back. Remember, these are estimates, but the only estimate that I am not positive about is the equity here, but the margin will be pretty close. And I added another month here for rents. I'm expecting April 1st, I would be collecting some more rent, $700, paying the expenses that are fixed each month. And I would have about $2,500 in my checking account if I didn't have any other expenses. And equity would be about 1,398 in the house. I'm estimating equity growing at $233 a month, which is 4% per year. So the cash and equity would be about 74,000 almost. And this is based on about 6 months so far since we start this project. So the ETFs have been growing for 5 months. Rental house 73,918, ETFs estimate about 69,000. So the house is still up about $5,000 in the 5 months I've been doing this. But once again, I think this will eventually really balloon the next few weeks and few months, and I should be happy once again. So that wraps it up. Next week, I'll be back with a video that is based on real results and not estimates. So we'll see you next week.